Just because Apple upgrade their operating software, I can't use my app. And so it's built in obsolescence. It's not hardware obsolescence, it's software obsolescence. As far as I know, I'm no tech guru, but this happened before. And so I think, one, that is bullying. It's like you have to upgrade to the latest version of the phone or a more advanced version because Apple decide that they're not going to support it anymore. And it makes it more vulnerable to security breaches and all sorts of stuff like that. And apps don't work. You get these apps are upgraded all the time and it doesn't work, and you've paid all this money for a phone that is perfectly good, that works, rings, takes photos, does all the things that it was designed, and then because of a software upgrade, it's rendered obsolete. Now, I think in a world of limited resources, that is incredibly wasteful. I mean, there's precious metals in these phones, in these electronics. There's hard to get materials. So what do people do with them? They try to flog them off on eBay or Gumtree or a site like that to people who don't know any better, or maybe to just give it to the kids who just want to make phone calls and take photos. But you can't do anything important, like if you're banking and all that stuff, then they're vulnerable to security breaches, as far as I understand. And I just think that in a planet of finite resources, this built-in obsolescence, not the hardware, so the machine itself is not breaking down, it's, sturdy construction, it's going to last for years, but you have to replace it for $500, $600, $800 to get a new phone. I mean, that is outrageous. That is forcing people to spend all this money, and a lot of people, who can't afford it, they've got to stay with the phone because they can't afford to buy a new one. And then there's all these problems, there's issues. And so I just think that as much as I love Apple, and I'm sort of a bit back in love with them again today, but a couple of days ago I was pretty ropeable, because I also have the same thing with my website. I was told by my webmaster that it's no longer going to be supported by the people who design the theme, right? Okay, the theme. So, and it's perfectly fine, but it's not going to be supported. And so my shop and all this sort of stuff, and it's vulnerable to hacking, apparently, my webmaster tells me. So I'm being forced to pay $2,000, $3,000 minimum to change all my site over to the latest version. And I just think, don't these people make enough money? Doesn't Apple get enough money from its sales without forcing people to do this? And this is control tactics. This is like Big Brother bully boy, making people do things because what they want to do. Is for everyone to buy a new phone every few years. I mean, 3 or probably 4 at the most. And so, I mean, one, that's just incredibly wasteful use of precious resources. But also, oh, the gate's opening. But also, it's just, it's just a waste of resources. There's nothing wrong with those phones. Sure, if you have a major technological upgrade, or a breakthrough every 5 years, maybe you could expect people to buy a new phone. But it's not. It's software upgrades, that render the phone obsolete, which I think is just outrageous. And, it's just wasteful. It's really wasteful. And it's not like the phones are like $50 each or something, They're hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I mean, what's the latest iPhone 8? What is it, $800 or $1,000 to buy a phone? And then 3 or 4 years later, you've got to get another one. That's like $200 a year just to own the phone, and then they just go into the tip, go in the landfill. And if you're lucky, a fraction of the community may actually put it into reuse, like a recycling bin or something like that, like, an e-waste bin. But most people just, they're actually laying around the house. And some may give them to the kids to use as a phone, to use as a, camera or whatever. But, I just think that it's really wasteful, and that you're forced into it. If you want to continue using your apps and you want to be supported, like tech support, and you want to be able to do banking and stuff, everything that you do with your phone, being forced to buy a brand new phone, it's just standover tactics, really, isn't it? I just think it's really, really, really disappointing. And Apple, and not just Apple, but Microsoft and all these other personal consumer electronic companies, goods companies, should have a really long, hard think about recycling and the way that they make people buy new phones by built-in software obsolescence. And and the other thing is, there should be standardization. It's like, you get an Android phone and the cord for it, the power cord, doesn't work on the Mac, and vice versa. And not only does it not work on the Mac, you get the Mac and you get the new power cable, but that doesn't work. You've got to get the new one. And then they're all different. All the connectors are different, and the power connectors, and the connect from your phone to your laptop or your iPad or your tablet. And it's just like there's this industry of that's just wanton consumerism, really, isn't it? And I think it's time that was changed.